before doing that, as you know, probably most of you know me in the meantime. So I'm Claudia van Tollenaar, and I'm passing now on to Noorduber, because I guess you probably all already know the team very, very good in the meantime. Noah, over to you.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. And before I go over the house rules and some of the agenda points, I would like to welcome one new destination to this call and one new team member. So we have had a new team member join, Milda from IMEX. She was managing the education side of IMEX, and we're very, very blessed to have her now on the team managing the GDS Academy. Also, we have a new destination on the call, which is Tallinn. So a warm welcome to Tallinn. Welcome, Lise. All right, now diving into the overview. So this session will be recorded. If you wish for your face not to be shown, please remain with your camera turned off. Throughout the session, you can show acknowledgement with a thumbs up or thumbs down, Roman thumbs. And then stay muted during the presentation sessions. But we'll have a lot of breakouts actually, so during those, obviously not. And during the presentation, we recommend that you select the speaker view in Zoom. Another point that's not really on the list here, but worth mentioning, is that we'll be using Miro, an online collaboration tool for the breakouts. And for this reason, it is recommended that one, you use Chrome to open the link in, which I'll share in the chat box shortly. So Chrome, that's best for best performance, but others also work. And ideally, you close any large files, any big things that may be slowing down your computer otherwise. Now, for the agenda itself, we'll begin with a little presentation from Guy about regenerative leaders and strategies to set the context. As you know, the topic of the session is strategies for 2021. And then in the breakouts, these will be quite long breakouts. We'll have breakouts of around 5 people in each group, and it'll be long, around 25 minutes, during which you'll explore different barriers and success stories related to different pillars that are required for regenerative leaders and effective strategies. We'll then come back to the session, have a little share out, and then close with some of the next steps. All right, over to you, Claudia.
Thank you very much, Noah. So today I would like to introduce our colleague in South Africa, Melissa Baird, for those of whom you still don't know. And I would ask you to put your speaker view on large, so that you have a full view on Melissa. And I'll just let you surprise you what she's going to do. So please, on to you, Melissa. Let's go on speaker view, and let's enjoy the next 2 minutes or so what will come next. Thank you very much. Melissa, over.
Hello, everyone. I'm a storyteller, and I work with the GDS movement, creating narratives that are going to inspire this concept of regeneration that we work with. And I'm also a bit of a part-time poet. So I'd like you to close your eyes, even though you're looking at me on speaker view, and focus on your heartbeat and see if you can hear it. And I'm going to read you something. It's called Shut Down, Shimmer. Whilst we apocalypse silence, the frenzy continues. Manufacture, grab, take, buy, own. And then we throw it all away, despite aiming to protect our livelihoods, our perceptions. What begins always ends. There is a glitch in the matrix, a thinning of the veil. What came before the day after? Sitters in we have become. A new narrative whispers, stop, listen, go within. This is where the kingdom lies, all you seekers of fame and glory. Arisen sinners we have become, automatons limbering on dangerous pathways to success, to find at the end cash receipts, bills, arguments. Stop. That is the call to action. Measure your days in creative concepts, not social bleach chips. If there is a rainbow within this martial cloud, it will present itself when you have learned to listen to truths that are not broadcast, to the call of your inner, while the outer shatters, breaks. What is your beacon? What makes you simmer? What makes you shimmer? And that's that.
Thank you very
Come
much.
back with your heartbeats. Come back with your heartbeats.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Melissa. Very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. So I'm just looking through the faces just one more time before we continue. Just take the moment. And I see some more destinations joining. Welcome for you as well. And now I would like to introduce in a moment to Guy Bigwood, which I would assume that everybody knows, our Guy. And he will be presenting on destination strategy, and will present also framework and best practices. And basically this will also be the portal to what we're going to do afterwards in the breakout work that we are going to undertake. And so I will, without further ado, give over to Guy, and he will lead you through, and we'll meet each other after the presentation before we go. So Guy, over to you.
Great. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see you. Good afternoon to some of you. Fantastic. What a great day. Thank you very much, Melissa. What a great poem. Lovely way to start. And I feel very excited at the moment with lots of developments that we're doing here with the development of our communications practice, which Melissa is leading, with the development of our new GDS Academy, which we'll launch probably in April, which Milda is developing right now. So lots of exciting things. And one of the things that we will be doing again this year is our white paper. And so I wanted to share and ask for your help. So I wanted to share some of the insights that we've been learning about how you guys are developing strategy for regeneration. And so the kind of purpose of the day is to share this framework that we're starting to see, and get you to work on it and add to it and help us develop our white paper together. So not sure about you, but at home at the moment, I've been doing a fair amount of yoga, and it's kind of made me think a lot about what does it require to be future fit. And we think that future fit at home is about making sure you're not stuck in your chair all day. You're getting out there and you're working, and you're doing some exercise. But in terms of destinations and what we're about, it's about that very important shift from a degenerative, numbers-focused tourism or events game through sustainability and to a newer kind of focus, which is around regeneration, about recovery, about rejuvenating, about better, about more beautiful, about more impact, about life within the limits of the planet and the community. So when we start to think about this regeneration, we've been really starting to think, why that word? Why are we moving away from sustainability? And I think these words, for me, help really kind of focus our thinking right. I mean, regenerative means creating the conditions conducive for life to continuously renew itself, to transcend into new forms, and to flourish amid ever-changing life conditions. Okay, and so that's what we have to deal with, unfortunately, over the next few years. It's going to be bumpy, it's going to be ups and downs, and so we have to be much more agile. So this type of regenerative thinking, where we take everyone on a journey, is more than ever critical. And so So when we start to think about what are those characteristics of a regenerative leader, someone who can take that charge, take a destination on a journey towards regeneration. And so as I said, we want to identify these areas and build them into our white paper. And you've seen some of the white papers that we've done over the years, and you may have seen the one we did with IMEX, which is called the Regenerative Revolution, which was our first foray into this. But let's go a little bit deeper. So at the moment, I say, we've identified 8 characteristics of what a regenerative leader is. And so many of you are regenerative leaders in one or maybe all of these, and maybe even more characteristics. So you see that in these tough times, a regenerative leader has the courage to lead, to be bold and caring, but also to challenge the status quo, to lead a group of people, to rethink the future, redefine the purpose of the destination, the DMO, the structure of the organization, and to lead transformation. We see that those people or organizations that have that courage are changing mindsets, they're challenging mindsets, and they're building a different culture of thinking in the destination. And to get there, they're engaging their stakeholders on a journey. They're really building up that expertise in how to engage, and that's a skill set. It's like anything, you can build those skills of engagement. We're seeing that their leaders are measuring. They're not just measuring activities. We did 5 workshops and 100 people came in through the door or online these days. They're really looking at impact. What are we trying to change? What are the social, environmental, economic metrics that we really want to change? How do we set our goals? How do we measure? How do we report on that transparently? From strategy, they start to build skill sets. So they're building capacity in the destination through education and through correctly using certification programs. They're storytelling. They're not just telling stories, they're telling stories with purpose, with facts, with faces. They're then leading the destination into a rapid form of innovation, of developing new experiences, both now through the crisis and into the future. And those experiences will be about how to tell that local story, how to bring the story alive, how to create social impact in a destination through tourism and events. And then lastly, they're mobilizing the visitors through that magic word of legacy. Right? They're mobilizing visitors and the community and the industry and clients to get into action to protect and regenerate nature and societal capital. So these are the 8 I'm seeing at the moment. We'd love you to help us identify more. So now I'm just going to give you a few examples of some of these. It's going to be a rapid fire sharing, as some of you are doing. I think we've got some people here on the line from Flanders. This is not a new case study. This was a project that was started by Visit Flanders to kind of challenge their thinking of how to develop their destination. And they started this before the crisis. But more than ever, their thinking and mindsets have been, I think, even more relevant now than they were. And what I like about the way they started to think about how does a destination flourish and thrive is how they paid out a vision that has then empowered others. So this was done before, but then now Michelin, which is one of the cities in Flanders, has come out with their strategy, like many of the other cities in Flanders are working on. And I love this kind of the language that Michelin are using to kind of reframe their work and how their objects are around heightening a sense of place and the city's uniqueness, how they want to enhance and enrich a city, their city, how they want to create opportunities, how they want to make a positive contribution. So beautiful language that allows the mobilization and engagement of a lot of different actors within the city and stands for something much bigger. So Eileen on the line here, and I'm going to pick up Glasgow because I think Glasgow is a great example of a change in mindset, and what Eileen and the team have been doing there is really taking something from a program that started about sustainable events to now a whole city approach that is really is a key element in the city's transformation. And so now that the climate change conference is going up to Glasgow, everything has been aligned around a big event, around social action, around change. And I think their strategy is a wonderful and simple piece of work. It's not this massive document, it's very simple, which I like, and easy to get your head around. And around really creating a wonderful green place, enabling social enterprise, enabling a food revolution, and creating a more accessible Glasgow. So I think that's a great way of really changing mindsets to get people into action. I think Sydney has done a good job at engaging people. I think this is a great one. It's a couple of years old now, but it's still a good one. I think what Stockholm's doing right now, I couldn't see if anyone was from Stockholm now, around their sustainable partnership is another good example. So, you know, how are you connecting and building expertise in your own ability to engage and mobilize your stakeholders? One of the key things many of us are now doing is thinking about our residents, a stakeholder that was often left, I think, in the past. So I think some of the work that many of you are doing actually, but I'm going to use Copenhagen as an example here, and working with TCI and using their sentiment index, resident sentiment index, to really understand how and what are the visitors, well, not visitors, but residents thinking at the moment, and how to engage them in the future design of our events. And with various cities, we're working on these strategies right now. And I think it's so cool, so important. There are different forms to engage residents. Many of you have gone on a journey and are in a different maturity of your sustainability program. And so some of us, when been working with you, you know, we start with creating a task force, and you've created task force, and then you get to a point where you have to create a separate, different governance structure. So I think Barcelona has done something very interesting by creating their citizen councils, and maybe we'll get Ross in one day to share this. But I think it's a really interesting way of how they've really looked to make sure the whole city is represented in the way they think and plan tourism. We've seen that leaders measure, even if I spelled that wrong, set impact goals and reports. And again, it's not about making things too complicated. Some people are doing massive complicated reports. I think what Sydney did in measuring its emissions, water and waste is very, very interesting. What Valencia is now working on in a similar way is really interesting, and Helsinki and Gothenburg are working on similar type of projects. And so I think when you start to think of the strategy and the goals, everything, it needs to come together. And what I'm excited about, looking at the change last year, there was a change in people now, the destinations on this call and not on the call, looking at their strategies. So we're going up there and the strategies are getting better. But we're still not really nailing the KPIs and the SMART goals. We're still, many of us, looking at activities and our impacts that we really want to change or create. If you look here, we can see in the green line is 2020, 70% of you had economic goals, 51 had environmental goals, 53 had social goals. So there's a lot of us still that don't have the 3 goals. So that needs to change if we are to be a leader. And what we're seeing, the leaders are nailing those goals and creating a clear impact strategy. I'm excited to see some of the developments last week. Switzerland launched Sustainable. So Switzerland has, we're really excited to have as a national partner, as well as various cities within Switzerland. And they've come out with a whole new charter, a whole new certification program, a training program, the way they measure and index multiple cities now using the GDS and how they're communicating. So I think that's exciting. Likewise, I think, did I see Louisa from Berlin on the call? I think what Switzerland is showing, what Berlin are showing, is how you build skill sets. How do you take your partners on a journey now to make them, to build more capacity in what they can do with their clients? So I'm going to invite you to have a look at this. And kind of the last couple of points here. So I think leaders tell stories. A lot about what we should be doing is around storytelling. So leaders tell stories, but I think right now a regenerative leader tells stories which are about purpose, about facts, and about faces. They make them human, they make them impactful, and they give a number to make them count. I think Bordeaux is starting to work on this very nicely. Helsinki, who were on here last week or the last session, have launched a fantastic program, a new strategy around their role as communicators. And so I invite you to have a look at that and the way they're engaging. So I think that's a really good example of leading with storytelling. I think some places are doing this with great humor. Iceland is always very good on its engaging people with humor. Oslo did some great stuff last year. And that's a key thing. And then here to kind of wrap up here, the last bit is about legacy. And so how do we really mobilize our stakeholders? And this, many of us have done and used through events. Copenhagen has a wonderful legacy program called the Copenhagen Legacy Lab, which I invite you to look at. A really good, strong methodology. Flanders has just done a wonderful new white paper around that. And then Belfast did a nice short document sharing some of the stories of impact and change created by events in Belfast. So I think here is some examples of how to shift and move. And I think the last one I'd throw in here is legacy in a different way. So Aarhus has done a fantastic job at really mobilizing its visitors, its volunteers, the locals, and really getting locals to be involved and thinking through their role in welcoming visitors and events, and what they can do to make Aarhus an even better place, and how they can have a lot of fun in doing it. So I invite you to have a look at that, because I think that type of thinking, again, is one of these key parts of regeneration. So that's it. That's some of those characteristics. So what is missing? 1, 3, 5, 2, 4. Is it a 6th gear or is it reverse gear? So that's what we're interested to know. So those are what we've got so far, and it's now over to you, Noah.
Yeah, thank you, Guy. Could you please stop sharing your screen for a second? Wonderful. So we're just about to move into the breakout session, which Claudia will describe shortly. Then I'll share a little bit more about Miro to familiarize yourselves with the tool. Before Claudia starts explaining it a little bit, I'll also paste the link in the chat. So if all of you could click on that link, which just appeared in the chat in your browser, and Claudia, maybe you give them a minute or so just for them to sort of get set up.
Yes. So you will go in groups of around, with so many people, I guess 4 or 5 people per group. And this time today, you will be together for around 25 minutes. And as you can see on the Miro link, you have, like, imagine you would have having tables, and you will move from one table to the others. And so as you saw on the presentation from Guy, so there were 8 characteristics that he showed, and we will be visiting 5 of them: engagement, skill sets, legacy, impact measurement, and storytelling. And so you will have 5 minutes every breakout group, and you will remain together the whole time. And then Noah will send a message. You have 1 more minute left, and then please move. So please make sure that you have a timekeeper in your group to look a little bit at the time and make sure that you move along the line. So basically, you will not be coming out. We will see you in 25 minutes, and you will stay together throughout the time, working through the different tables. Yeah. So I guess you have the link. And all of us from the team, we will be hopping in and out quietly, just listening to you and just making sure that you are okay. And other than that, we will see you back in 25 minutes. And so Noah, please, I would ask you to send everybody off, and we'll see each other again in around 25 minutes.
Well, just a small note, because I had made an error with the link sharing settings. I updated them. So if there was something where you had to request access or anything like that, just reload the page and it should work. If there's any issues, please just write me in the chat. And I think before we actually dive into Miro, it's worth for me to share the navigation around it, just to help you all understand how it works when you're moving around it, because I created some frames, they're called, which will help you move and find the right board to work on. So I hope you can see the screen. And essentially, what you're seeing here is the whole board. So these are all the different boards that are on this Miro frame. And down here in the bottom left-hand corner, this is going to be the place where you can access all the frames. So if you click on that, it'll bring up, probably in this view, all the different frames. And as you can see, each frame is linked to a group. Now, when I send you out into the breakouts, you'll be automatically assigned a group number, which you'll be able to see. So please just navigate to the relevant frame. And personally, I find it easier to view them in a list, so that here you can see just the simple text. And when I click on group 2, for example, I navigate to that group. If I forgot what the pillars of success are, maybe want to have a quick look at them, I can click on this first frame right here. Now, what we would like you to do is, of course, add information here. Yeah? And you can do this by adding a sticky note. So click here on the left-hand toolbar on sticky note, choose a nice color, and then click on the board to make the sticky note appear. And then just type in text. And in case the sticker size is a bit too large or a bit too small, you can click here on sticker size and change it. I highly recommend sticking to the small sticker size, because it'll help keep a relatively good overview of everything. Good. I hope that was relatively clear. And I think as you are in the breakout groups, you can also ask for help, so I can jump into your room and help if there's any technical issues. All right, I'll now send you out into breakout rooms of 4 to 5. Just accept the invitation when you see it on your screen.
So, hello everybody back. So, first of all, please, share in the chat, how was your journey from one table to the other? Share in the chat, please. How was it for you? How did you find it? And let's follow the same pattern. Like, what were the barriers and what were the success stories? Just a little word that would be great as a feedback of the experience right now in the breakouts. And also following that, we will take also some time to talk a little bit about how it went for you. And it would be great to have a little bit some feedback from some of you who want to share. And it doesn't matter on which pillar you want to talk about, or is it more about the barriers, or is it more about the success stories? So we would welcome some feedback or some things that you experienced or heard in your specific group throughout the time that you think is nice to share. So please raise hands. And if not, I will just take the freedom to draw on someone just because there's so many squares. So who would like to raise hands? You know how to raise hands in the meantime in the reaction button. And as I don't see any, I would just like to hear from Daniela in Zurich. Would you like to share with us what you took with you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. We spent a lot of time on the first question, actually. Sorry for that, but it was probably obviously a relevant one. So what we learned is that I think right now is somehow a good moment to talk with different stakeholders, to put them on a table and also have more honest and more reflected discussions. This is like the success moment or the momentum that we could use, but we also face certain barriers in terms of how do you make specific goals, visions, define smart goals in a time where everything is so unsteady. If I don't even know what kind of budget I'm going to have within the next few months, not even for a longer time. So we have this 3-year, 5-year strategy approach in mind, but it doesn't work. So how to solve that? I think we need new methods and also new thinking patterns here. So Nantes shared their story, or Anne-Laure, right, from Nantes shared their story of just putting different stakeholders on the table, and she said that it's important also to have C-level people on the table. What we also find out is that it's a good moment to experiment. So maybe you cannot talk about great smart goals, but you can maybe just put or select one topic where everybody's motivated to work on and just start there. So it's a good time to experiment. We also heard that from Danielle, who is a destination designer in Sweden. So just try out something new, something small, and get going.
Mm-hmm.
So
thank you very much, Daniela. Thank you very much for sharing. Anne-Laure, you're raising, yeah? Please.
No, sorry, I was just saying that was exactly what we said during the session, because I was in the session with Daniela.
Okay.
No, sorry, I was just saying.
Okay, thank you. Megumi, would you like to share?
Sorry, I can could you please someone else?
Okay, with whom, which group were you?
Group 1.
Group 1. So who else was group 1 who would like to help out Megumi and share a little bit about your group? I don't see the hands. I don't know who was in group 1, so that would be lovely just to have a little feedback on group 1. Okay. Of course we don't see the names. Okay, then let's go to the next. What about Teresa Fialova? You are on mute, Teresa.
I got it. Sorry. We were discussing what were the actually barriers with the engagement of the stakeholders. And I think it's mostly, it can be the language, as it was in Switzerland. And also like different priorities of the stakeholders, especially at this moment when the COVID is and, you know, the financial reason, this kind of things. And also we have discussed about the education and certification, and there was a nice example from Brussels, as they had the My Skill Camp, and it was really interesting. So they educate actually their partners and stakeholders, and they have e-learning sessions and webinars, and also got some financing for it. So it's nice to kind of, you know, use this time to educate them and to, you know, bring some new thoughts and change the mind. So that was really interesting.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Teresa. And to hear also maybe from Anne-Laure, you're raising your hand, yes?
Yes, this time I'm really raising my hand. To complete what it was Teresa who just said. In fact, there's something we didn't go to the third pillar. So, but what Nantes did, which was very interesting, and is exactly the same thing. We have a club mice, which is a club of let's say stakeholders around obviously business tourism, and what we decided last year and the beginning of this year is that we created sessions, and the idea was also to put them around the table and to listen to them, to say, okay, what throughout this terrible period of time, and how do you, and not put solutions towards them, but just to listen to them, to be able to get out and see what kind of solutions we can have and work with them. And this is going to happen on the 16th of June, where we're going to have a big, let's say, big meeting with all of them, and the analysis of all what they have been saying during the sessions will be the next action plan that we're going to put towards them.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is indeed very inspiring as well. And absolutely. What about gentlemen? Giles, you are in the middle of my screen, so I go to Giles.
Hi there. It's because I was working on my phone, I sort of didn't really have the screen accessible to me, so I can't tell you exactly the information that we discussed in precise detail. But we were talking about some interesting sort of success stories with regard to not so much legacy, but I guess I was mentioning something that Victoria and the Melbourne Convention Centre developed about 10 years ago, which is a farm to fork, and this is where everything that was cooked or made in the kitchens at the convention centre was from the state of Victoria only. So what they did then was that they put little placemats on every table in the convention centre, so when the delegates came to sit down, it wasn't kind of forced on you, but it was just a sort of little two-sided mat, and it just showed where the meat came from and the vegetables, and how everything was sort of locally produced, and the benefit that it had for all of the sort of farmers in the community, I guess. And that was I thought it was a really nice way of, instead of just delegates coming and sitting down and having a meal and going away, they could see the benefits of them coming to the city, that kind of thing, how they're sort of tying into that.
Thank you very much, John. And that's actually a great example of how you really can extend your local community onto the tables and telling this story with the food that you intentionally design for the specific events that you have. And so this is absolutely a way where you can amplify for the local farmers, producers, but also in education for your probably health of the participants, and then of course for all those others involved. Absolutely. So that food is always, let's put it this way, out of food we always can create success stories. Absolutely, because there is so much going with it. Because we are getting towards the end again, so thank you very much for your sharing. And so you have the link. If there is something that still comes to mind, or you still would like to jot down, just go into your group and just post it, because as Guy mentioned already, we will take the information out there and we will and process it. Like I'm just thinking of food production, process it into what we are doing for the white paper creation as we go along. And with this, thank you very much for your participation in this. Guy, is there anything that you would like to mention to this before we give over to Noah?
I was thinking about that. I think just around the white paper, we'll be coming back to some of you to ask you for more information and input on case studies we've already collected from you to help us to do that. I just think for next steps we're going to be communicating to you about the white paper, but about the academy soon, about our communication services that are really ramping up. So those are things that are in development that are coming soon. And then the last thing is Rebecca's been working really hard on taking your input from the index questionnaire. So thank you very much, all of you provided input into the criteria. And now Rebecca's got a great challenge to integrate all of that. And then we'll be coming back, first of all, to the advisory group to let them have a look. Our technical advisory committee will have a look at the changes to criteria, and then we come back and send it out to all of you for review. So that will be coming out April the 1st, will be April the 1st or April the 5th, around then.
Okay, great. Thank you, Guy. And with this, Noah, over to you.
Thank you, Claudia. So a couple of next steps to note. Of course, there'll be a follow-up to the session in which we'll include a short summary of all the work that you just did in the breakout. Then the next session, date's not 100% set in stone yet, but most likely it'll be on Tuesday, either on the 6th or the 13th of April, and the topic will be on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now, one other thing that I want to shortly cover, which Guy already touched on a little bit, is the survey results, because part of the survey that we had sent out was also in relation to these Feeling the Pulse sessions. And we saw that, overall, it seems like you'd like us to focus more on best practice sharing from other destinations. So we're taking that on board. And also, when it comes to the topics, it seemed there was a particular interest in sustainable development goal implementation, hence the topic for the next session. And lastly, we may be shifting a little bit how the format is. So at the moment, it's usually in 75 minutes, just due to the type of content that we usually prepare. But it seems that there's a high interest to reduce it down to 60 minutes. So this is potentially what we'll do. And frequency, it may shift between 4 and 6 weeks, given these results. Good. So thank you all for participating in this wonderful session. It was really nice to see so many faces here, even though I'm sure some people dropped. Oh, my internet.
In. So have a wonderful journey on the rest of your week. And as you know, if you need anything, we are an email away or a WhatsApp away. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.